This is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at the Pilot Stargazer that I recently got. Now, from what I can tell, Pilot stopped making the Stargazer around 2018, so this video is going to be less about the pen itself and more about Pilot's 14 karat medium nib. Now, I've mentioned many times in my ink videos that the 14 karat fine nib in my Pilot Custom 74 is very forgiving. Inks that I have trouble with in other pens, I can put in this Custom 74, and it's just very forgiving. The inks are enjoyable to write with. You never would guess that the inks had any issues. So today I'm going to be testing several of my inks that I found to have troublesome qualities. I'm going to test them in my Stargazer. Now, I love that my Stargazer matches my little pen rest that I got from Mike Madison over at Ink Dependence. I just love the color of that pen rest, and I love that my new pen matches it so well. Alright, and I've also had people asking about the stickers that Pilot puts on their pens. It's no big deal to remove them. I have a lot of people who like to keep the stickers on their pens, but I am not one of them. I had just left it on here while I was doing my initial videos, but I'm just going to show how easily they come off. And they don't usually leave any residue. If there is a little residue, just get a damp cloth and it should wipe off. Now, one thing I will mention, if you are buying older pens, I have seen on eBay where particularly plastic pens can become discolored underneath, or the sticker, like it may be faded on the rest of the pen, and then under the sticker it remains the original color. That's something to watch out for, but this is just a metal pen with a lacquer finish. Okay, now the first two inks I'm going to take a look at have given me trouble because they're just dry. They're actual dry inks, meaning if I leave my pen sitting around a day or two without using it and I come back to write with it, I have trouble with hard starts. And so these are both beautiful inks. So when you have those hard starts, it's just, it's kind of aggravating because it leaves a kind of ugly spot at the beginning of your writing where you had trouble getting it started. And the first ink I'm going to look at is Ackerman Israel's Zablau. Now, I originally, when I did my ink tests, I tried using this in my Pilot Prera, and even the Pilot stainless steel nibs, it was just too dry. Okay, so and I had no trouble with it starting up. This is an ink that has some really nice shading, and we'll have to see. This pen puts down a decent amount of ink, so we'll see if this shading, how well the shading shows up. I would never guess that this was a dry ink writing in this pen. All right, I'm going to give that a little time to dry, and we'll see how well the shading shows up. But this ink has been a joy to write with. I inked up the converter with it, and I've been writing with it this past week, and I've had no issues with hard starting, and the converter's almost empty. In fact, I think the only ink in it is what is in the feed. So I'm going to clean my pen out and we'll try the next ink. The next ink I'm testing is Krishna Winter Sheen, and you can see this is one of the first ink samples that I got earlier this summer, and I still have almost all of it left because I've had trouble finding a pen that I enjoy writing with this ink. So, and I had mentioned that these first two inks were actually dry, like they dry up, and had trouble hard starting. I'm not sure. This may just, this was a strange ink. It's beautiful. It's got nice shading and sheen. But it was just uncomfortable and to write with it in most pens. It was unpleasant. But this is very smooth. In some pens, it was like it was too watery. And then in some pens, it had trouble getting it started writing. So I like it in this pen. It's got a wide enough nib that it's not too pale, and it's putting down enough ink. The Ackerman, I'm seeing some nice shading. It was nice. Let's see if we can see the sheen on Winter Sheen yet. Yeah, the letters you can see like a halo of sheen forming, some nice shading. Yeah, this is it's pleasant in that nib. Okay, we'll try the next ink. The next ink I'm going to try is Iroshizuku Kirasami. It's a pale but pleasant gray ink. It's the one that leans a little more to the warm side. And with the amount of ink that this medium nib puts down, it gives it a little more, I don't know, it's not as pale, but you can see it almost wipes completely away. And one of the things that interests me in this ink is it has some water resistance, so it looks, it's got that the same shade of gray as like a pencil lead, so that's a nice option. And it felt really nice. It was nice and smooth. It didn't feel dry on the paper. All right, and the next ink. Okay, next is another watery gray ink, Robert Oster Summer Storm. Summer Storm, why am I writing it on two separate lines? Summer Storm looks blue sometimes, and sometimes it looks kind of lavender. It's coming across kind of blue right now. and it felt nice and smooth, very pleasant to write with. All right, let's try the next ink. Okay, the next ink is Lamy Mango, and this is one that I think I'm probably still not going to like it. It's a watery ink and just very pale. So I picked all my inks that just something was wrong. I didn't enjoy using them. Let's see. That's not bad. It's not completely unpleasant. I think this pen makes it usable. I'm seeing more of the dark. I don't know, that's better than I remember it. And it doesn't, it not having that dry feeling really adds a lot to it. I don't know if I would use this to write an entire page, but I don't know. That's not as bad as I was anticipating. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, the next ink I want to try is Sailor Mano Haha. I'm wanting to see if this medium nib puts down enough ink and is wide enough to get that wild shading that Haha is known for. And Haha is kind of a watery ink, as you can, wow, see right there. It's weird, as you're writing, the ink goes down like very pale, but as you lift up your pen, it's like it darkens up. All right, you can see when I wiped it away, the purpley pink stayed behind and the blue is what smeared. It's a little bit on the pale side for me. We'll see what it looks like after it dries. I'm seeing it does have an interesting look to it. All right, next ink. Okay, and the last ink I'm going to test is Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. I believe it's intended to be like a cherry blossom type of color. Let's see. This was a watery, dry feeling, somewhat pale ink, but in this nib it's putting down enough ink that it's very legible. Yeah, that was very pleasant, and I kind of like that pink with the blue pen. So these were all very comfortable, pleasant to write with. The only issues I had with some of them were just the paleness and legibility, like with the Lamy Mango. And the Sailor Haha wasn't too bad. Let's see, this nib is wide enough that, let's see, you're able to see that shading. It's like a purplish pink on the inside with the blue halo to it. But they were all very smooth riders. Some of them you could tell, since this medium nib tends to be kind of glassy smooth with most inks, you could tell some of these had a little bit of feedback that in a nib that was not glassy smooth, it would probably be uncomfortable. One of the things I want to mention, though, on these brighter inks and lighter inks, one thing I do to make them more enjoyable is write on a cream color paper like my Hobonichi Weeks. I like the Lamy Mango a lot better on it compared to the bright white paper. So now each of these inks that, had issues in other pens are now completely usable in this Pilot medium nib. This is my favorite nib right now, the 14 karat Pilot medium. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.